Welcome to Earthwatch. We've got another great show lined up for you this week, taking a look at where technology and the environment meet, as well as some interesting ways for you to save some cash and the planet in your kitchen. But first, government has approved the construction of a controversial new hotel here in the Kruger Park. Sandpark says it's essential to bolster funds and attract more black visitors to the park. But opponents are up in arms.
The peace and tranquility of the bush is something visitors savour. But this quiet corner of the Kruger Park will soon be transformed into a construction zone, from which this lavish 220-bed hotel will rise.
It's a resort. It's a Radisson Blue Safari or Kruger Resort. So they've got conference facilities, they've got all sorts of gimmicks for higher income groups. So it goes beyond what you want for a national park.
Dr. Solomon Joubert was director of the Kruger Park from 1987 to 1994. He's one of around 300 people vehemently opposed. Opponents have formed a group called Enca against interference in Kruger and other national assets. They believe the hotel defies the guidelines established by the IUCN, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, of which South Africa is a member.
And that's the intent and spirit of these laws that regulate what national parks are about. And it's to make or to draw attention to and to provide opportunities for a nature-based experience. Not conferences, not any other kind of events that are offered to attract people other than the natural environment and what nature has to offer.
Kruger is currently a Category 2 IUCN National Park. If the hotel goes ahead, it could jeopardize that status, and that would have a serious knock-on effect for tourism. Enca cites a recent study by the University of the Northwest with 90% of respondents saying the park did not require any upmarket hotels or accommodation. Sandparks sees things differently. It says the development is a necessity, especially if it's going to increase the Kruger's domestic visitor numbers. At the moment, only 29% of the park's 1.5 million annual visitors are black. And management believes that's because the kind of accommodation offered just isn't what the black middle class wants.
Going to a national park is not top of mind for black visitors around the country. If you look at the research done by SA Tourism as well as some of our own research, people are looking for the city, the lights, they're looking for sitting around the campfire experience. They're looking for something a bit more luxurious. If we don't have the general population representative of the demographics of the country understanding the national parks, loving them and supporting them, eventually it will not be seen as important.
William Mabasa, the head of PR for Kruger, took us to the site of the proposed hotel.
William, one of the things that Glenn Phillips told us yesterday was that this hotel, one of the reasons they're building it is because they believe it'll attract more black visitors to the park. What's your feeling on that?
If you look at the emerging black market, it's those people who have the money to be able to, pay for services. And I'm sure we would be able to cater for that clientele.
Okay, William, are we actually in the spot now of the future hotel?
Yes, we are in the spot. It's gonna start from there, and the buildings will be along this little river going back to the road. So this area, it's basically in the center of the hotel.
What are your personal feelings on this hotel, William?
I'm very excited because we are now, providing for the clientele that we are not necessarily providing for. If you look at our accommodation, we've got basics from camping to chalets and things like that, which is the basic accommodation. But we also have concessionaires that are providing for like 5-6 stars. And we're leaving a gap somewhere in the middle, and this is the gap that this hotel will close.
The hotel will be situated a kilometre from the Malalaan Gate on the Crocodile River. The environmental impact assessment is currently underway, and the public has been asked to raise any concerns they may have during the public participation process. We'd love to know what you think about this story. Email us at earthwatch@enca.com or tweet us at earthwatch_ENCA.
While Amy was up north in the Kruger National Park, I looked into easily accessible technology and discovered that there's an app for everything. And environmental issues are no different. Here at Earthwatch, we downloaded a few of them and gave them a test drive to discover which ones were worth downloading. Here's a look at our favorite eco apps.
Tuning into Earthwatch is one way to stay informed about changes and choices we can make for a more sustainable lifestyle. And to make sure you're always being reminded of your eco-friendly lifestyle, there's nothing quite as convenient as an app. We chatted to Michelle Atagana of Meanburn about some of her favorites.
Okay, so I use a variety of apps, but I suppose my favorite one is Eco Challenge and Travel, which is a carbon footprint tracking app, just so I can know how big my footprint is getting and how I can reduce it. I also use iRecycle, which lets me know where there are recycling plants around me, and I can take stuff there. And Recycle This, which is really cool because it tells you what can be recycled and what can't.
There's also a really useful app called CO2 Footprint. You can calculate your net effect on the planet, whether you fly around the world or simply commute to work.
Okay, so the CO2 Footprint app is actually quite cool because it tracks your entire life, and then it gives you how many trees you need to plant to counter that footprint. So cool. Let's say how many times you fly a year, how many miles or kilometers you think
so
you fly?
I go up to Joburg maybe 5 times a year. It's about 7,000 Ks plus return 14,000 Ks.
Okay, so we got your 14,000 Ks.
Cool.
Okay, let's go to your driving. How many Ks do you drive in a year?
About 15 to 8 to maybe 20,000. So let's say 18.
Let's give you 18,000, all right?
Cool.
And fuel consumption?
I'm sitting about 8.5 per 100 Ks.
Okay, and petrol or diesel?
Petrol.
Alrighty. So now we tracked your entire life and realized you need to give us 14 trees a year so you can counter that CO2 emission.
From carbon footprint to recycling, I realized I still had a thing or two to learn.
So we were speaking about recycling materials and stuff, and I'm not really sure. I don't know. To me, plastic's plastic, glass is glass, paper's paper. I could put everything in the recycling bag and just dump it, and then I'll be all good, right?
Not at all. So this app is really cool. It's called Recycle This, and you just type in what you want to recycle. So Ziploc bags, those are plastic, right?
Yeah, little lunch bags, yeah.
So Ziploc bag, nope, not recyclable.
Not recyclable. So what about chopsticks? Can I recycle chopsticks?
But that should be wood and it should be fine, right?
I eat a lot of sushi though, so...
No, you can't.
I can't recycle chopsticks.
No, you can't recycle chopsticks.
And here I was thinking I was doing good for the environment. Don't recycle your chopsticks. They're apparently not recyclable.
Now, if you're looking for something a little meatier, EcoGuide is packed with information and guaranteed to give you some food for thought.
The best way to really think about being ecologically friendly is to be educated about being ecologically friendly, and this is a great app that gives you all that content, and it's different things as well. It's appropriate technologies, so things like solar ovens and traditional mud mass ovens and mud bricks and stuff like that, to water usage and passive building design and things like that.
All the apps are free, so there's no reason not to download one or two. And maybe you too will soon have a folder on your phone called Earth Responsible.
Well, one site that's making use of technology and apps is Kruger Sightings. And speaking of Kruger Sightings, here's something they sent us for this week's viewer submission.
There are not many forces as powerful as a mother's protective instincts. And while traveling in the Kruger National Park, Delville van Rensburg filmed this video to prove it.
What the hell? What the hell?
This lioness is unaware one of her cubs was killed by a crocodile a little earlier. Acting against her normal behavior, she desperately searches for her missing cub. Lionesses often keep crocodiles at bay when they cross rivers with their cubs, but this time she lost to the croc.
And here's a roundup of recent international environmental news.
The Kenyan government is cracking down on poaching and any threats to wildlife. They have set up a task force after a violent rise in elephant and rhino poaching. The government has also introduced new anti-poaching laws that call for a 7-year jail sentence or fine of over 2 million rand. France has burnt 3 tons of illegal ivory seized over the past 20 years. 15,000 pieces were burnt with a value of around 15 million rand. French President François Hollande has made commitments to fighting against poaching of endangered species, and France is the first European country to destroy its stocks. The hope is to send a message to criminals that poaching will not be tolerated. And a Danish zoo is under heavy criticism after they've killed a giraffe and fed it to their zoo carnivores. The Copenhagen Zoo had to put the healthy giraffe down due to a lack of space and to comply with regulations. A campaign mounted before the killing, trying to save the giraffe. A British zoo even offered to take him.
Our tip of the week comes to you from the kitchen. We're making a few small changes to the workhorse of appliances. The fridge can save you some cash and make a difference to the planet.
Leave food you've cooked to cool before putting it into the fridge. It takes more energy to bring down the temperature from a higher centigrade, so letting it come down to room temperature before putting it away can really make a difference. This also applies to your freezer. Save energy by putting the food you want to freeze in the fridge compartment overnight and then place it in the freezer. Also, cover all the food you put into the fridge. Uncovered items release moisture, which makes the appliance's compressor work harder. Put the food in reusable containers and your fridge will run more efficiently and your food will last longer. Rethink your fridge's thermostat. Chances are you don't need it as cold as you've got it. Readjust the temperature by 1 or 2 notches and you probably won't feel the difference, but you might experience it in your electricity bill. Lastly, pull your fridge out and vacuum or sweep behind it and all the elements. By eliminating all the dust that builds up on the coils, the excess heat is carried off faster and your fridge will run more efficiently. Also be conscious of where in your kitchen you place your fridge. Keep it away from heat-generating appliances like stoves and dishwashers or direct sunlight. Heat near the fridge will make it work harder to keep food cold.
And that's it from Earthwatch for this week. As always, we leave you with a look at who's new in the zoo, Zooborns from around the world. Catch you next time.